Okay, I have 7:31. Welcome everyone to the 2019 Annual General Meeting of the Saskatoon City Employees Credit Union. This is our 74th annual meeting. I'm your board chair, Jan Mark Gustafson, and also your host for the evening. I think everybody has stated that how strange it feels to be having our annual general meeting both at this date and under these conditions. So how did we get here? Well, we were originally scheduled for March 20th, 2020, and then along came COVID-19, which resulted in a lockdown so that in-person meetings were not allowed. We immediately applied to the Registrar of Credit Unions to request an extension to, actually we asked for October, but we got to September 30th. So here we are tonight, September 15th, to hold our AGM. Why a virtual meeting? Well, the board felt that the current risk is too high. The likelihood of contracting COVID is very low, particularly with social distancing and all the other precautions that are in place. But the potential consequences of someone catching COVID could be very severe. So as a result, we're holding this meeting in a virtual mode. And just to let you know that it's compliant with both the Act and thanks to bylaw changes last year is compliant with our bylaws. Some housekeeping rules. The annual general meeting is being recorded. I'm sure you've been notified as you entered the meeting. The plan is to post a link to the recording on the website so that members can watch it if and when they wish. The recording will be edited to remove periods of little or no activity. Actually, watching one of these is like watching paint dry. Just so you know that only speakers and their presentations are recorded on the video audio files. Question and answer, polls, and chat are recorded in text files. The plan is to have the full recording, including all the text files, available upon request, but not posted direct to the website. If you have a question, click on the Q&A icon and type in your question into the Q&A window. Dennis and Graham are standing by to respond to your questions in writing. And I think Alan is keeping an eye on the Q&A window as well. And Q&A will not be anonymous. In other words, they'll know who's asking the question. The motions have been prepared ahead of time. The core motions that are pretty much procedural have been previously moved and seconded ahead of time to reduce the amount of time to process it. If you wish to move or second a motion from the floor, please click on your raise hand icon and hopefully I'll catch on. If I don't catch on, Alan will be sure to remind me. Voting will be done by polling. And so we've set up the polling so that 2 members that have registered can vote from the same device. The votes will not be anonymous. And we will run a practice motion now. So the motion is moved by Stan McCallum, seconded by Marty. Be it resolved that virtual meetings are better than in-person meetings. So I will launch the polling. And for those who are 2 people, 1 person answers the first one, then you go on to the second question. If there's no second member, press that. If there's a second member, they can enter their vote. Okay, with that, I will end the polling and I'll share the results. And it is 60% to 40% in agreement. So hopefully that works for you. There'll be a few of those throughout the evening. And somebody may have to remind me to put in the results of the votes. You may click on the raised hand to request to speak. If I fail to recognize you, please make a request to Q&A. Stan, to raise hands, raise your hand, you press *9 on your keypad. Okay, I'll turn to Scott here and ask if we have a quorum.
Yes, we do, John Mark. We have more than enough, more than 15.
Okay, so I can change this to declared. And there we are, 7:38 to begin. Reminder, it's being recorded. So the agenda I'll cover in about 3 slides here. First, the welcome we've already done. We've got a declaration of the quorum. And we're going through the agenda now. The next item will be reviewing and approving the previous minutes of the AGM. Any business arising out of the minutes. The board chair's report, and followed by the general manager's report and analysis for 2019. We have our required reading of the management's responsibility for the financial statements. This will be followed by Brian Heinrichs, our external auditor, to give his report and presentation of the financial statements. This will be followed by an appointment of the auditor for 2020. Scott Roche is here to do an update on marketing for the credit union. And Don Davison, our chair of the nominating committee, will go over the election of board directors, followed by a general manager's update on 2020 to date. We'll end off with some new and other business. So, welcome the recipients of the Boyd Johnson Memorial Scholarships, Long Service Awards, and any other business that may arise. And this will be ended off with adjournment of the meeting. So in summary, there's your agenda. I've got a motion by Bill Davern, seconded by Alan Beck, that the agenda be adopted as presented. And with that, I will do a poll to adopt the agenda. Launch polling, way you go. If you would enter your votes. If you'll give me a second, let me stop the polling. There's one thing I forgot to do. Okay, can we try that again? One of the notes to myself was to allow panelists to vote. So there are a number of members that are sitting as panelists. And okay, with that, I'll end polling. Looks like we're agreed. Minutes of the previous AGM. So what I will do is go to a new share. And so this is off the credit union website. So the 72nd annual meeting was held on March 26, 2019. Call to order at 7:30 with 22 members and 4 guests declared for a quorum. The agenda is adopted. Previous AGM. No business arising out of the minutes. 2 members, people from the Prairie Hospice Society were here to do a presentation, Sheila Morgan and Doug Boros. I did my presentation on where I saw the future of credit unions going in the province and a commitment to membership to continue on as an autonomous entity. The Deposit Guarantee Corporation, referred to by the general manager, Dennis Lozinski, did the review of the 2018 performance for the credit union and the management responsibility. And then Brian Heinrichs presented the auditor's report along with the financial statements for 2018. Those were adopted. Moved to appoint the Virtus Group again after having done a very good job. This is followed up by election of directors. So Marty and Bill stayed on, and Don Davison joined as a new director. And then probably one of the most important things that we did in the meeting last year was to approve a new set of bylaws, one bylaw of which allows us to meet in the manner we're meeting tonight. Kelly Davison and Bennett Blass were recognized with scholarships. Long Service Award, Cindy Griffith, the 25 years of service. Ended off with some presentations and a motion to adjourn the meeting at 9:08. Now, Marion Voth identified a couple of items in the minutes from last year that we feel should be corrected. And so moved by Marion, seconded by Don Davison, that the minutes of the previous AGM held on March 26, 2019 be amended as follows. That Brian Heinrichs not only be identified as an accountant, but as a partner in the Virtus Group, and to correct the spelling of Marion's name. And with that, I'll get a vote on the motion to amend the minutes. Okay, I think we have enough votes that we have an agreement. So that is carried. Are there any further errors or omissions? If so, please indicate by clicking on raise hand. Not seeing any, I will carry on here. Moved by Marion, seconded by Stan McCalla, that the minutes of the previous AGM held on March 26, 2019, as amended, be approved. Looks like we're good. Share the results. Stop sharing. Any business arising out of the minutes? Again, by raise hand. There being none, I will now present my report. Okay, this is a report of the board chair for September 15th, 2020. And I'm just gonna minimize these guys. So the plan for 2019 was for the board to develop a formal policy on risk management in the credit union. This was a recommendation of our internal auditor, and of course our regulator carefully monitors what's recommended to us by both our external and internal auditor. So there's an expectation that we will do so. Up till now, the board has only taken a monitoring role, and the plan is for the board to take a more active role. So what is enterprise risk management? It's a framework for managing an organization having regard to balancing opportunities with their associated risks. But it also entails to making sure that all significant risks affecting the organization are identified and managed. Our regulator uses enterprise risk management in assessing the performance and the risk represented by the credit unions across the province. And one of the main things that they do is they manage the guarantee fund, which protects all of the deposits in credit unions across the province. Enterprise risk management at the credit union has been driven by the general manager and his staff since it was a requirement. The board's role has been to monitor reports and to hold discussions with the general manager on the status of significant risks. To make it easy on us, the general manager reports in a form like this as sort of the focal point, but also provides written documentation to support it. You'll notice that this is the dashboard for December 2018. And quite frankly, the dashboard for 2019 was very similar in the sense that all the yellow cells and the red cells were still in place at that time. Since COVID set in, that has changed. So the board's policy on enterprise risk management is to develop a risk appetite statement at the board level. The idea is that this will reflect the membership's tolerance for risk, also needs to meet the regulator's requirements. And one of the things that the board is very cognizant of is minimizing the amount of effort required by staff and management to report, to develop reports for the board. So the board's framework will be have about 3 points to it. The first one is that all initiatives, decisions, etc., must have an expected net benefit to the membership. This seems sort of rhetorical, that obviously that should be just part of the way of doing business. The thing that this point does, though, is it resolves part of the new definition of how risk is being interpreted in the financial world. So this deals with opportunities. On the negative side, we're going back to the old definition of risk. In other words, that risk is a factor of two things: the consequences of negative outcomes and the likelihood of those outcomes occurring. For example, we could say, well, we have a risk appetite of moderate for a certain set of circumstances. Now, that could be a combination of severe consequences, but very low likelihood of happening. And we saw that this year with the continuation of business plan being put into place. But it could be minor consequences. In other words, just daily annoyances, but they could happen on a fairly regular basis. And so you just have a procedure to deal with those. And it could be anywhere in between. Response to each of those situations, however, is completely different. For the first one, you need to have a plan in place. For the second one, just a procedure for dealing with it. And third, you could have a procedure to deal with the more consequential negative outcomes. So the second component will be a chart that plots the consequences versus likelihood over a number of categories. And this will indicate the board's tolerance for risk in each category. What we did here was to take management's current risk appetite statement and interpret it in terms of what we think it would look like under the new framework for risk appetite statement at the board level. So along the y-axis, you have the severity of a negative outcome. On the x-axis, you have the likelihood of that outcome occurring. And this current form is sort of a probability statement. And then you have, I think, 13 categories that management currently monitors in terms of their risk assessment. So the thing, so given that chart, the most important part will be the continuing the ongoing discussion between the board and the general manager about risks affecting the credit union. So item 2 is more of the formal report part. Item 3 is most important, seeking to understand. So the board's plan for 2020, and this is really easy because I'm stepping down as the board chair, is to populate the chart. Determine the categories that the board wishes to monitor and get reports on, finding some way of interpreting severity of consequences, and expressing the likelihood of occurrence of negative outcomes. And as with all our ends and executive limitations policy, it forms an agreement between the board and the general manager. I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the response, the credit union's response to the COVID-19 situation. First of all, thank you to management and the staff for your response to COVID-19. In my opinion, the risk has been very well managed. However, the challenge continues, both in terms of health risks as well as the financial risk. And the board is here to provide any support that's needed. With that, I would like to share a video presented by the Prairie Hospice Society that your board, on your behalf, the membership's behalf, continue to support over the last few years.
Hi, my name is Ed, and I'm here to just kind of talk a little bit about my experiences with Prairie Hospice. I guess it all started 3.5 years ago when my late wife got diagnosed with ALS, and so we started going to ALS support group meetings every month. And at one of them meetings, we had a guest speaker from Prairie Hospice came in and was telling us about the support that they would give to people with terminal illnesses, so the caregiver could get out of the house once in a while. And my wife and I thought that'd be a great idea, because I was playing some morning hockey twice a week, and hard to get people to come in. Sometimes everybody's working, so it worked out pretty good for us. People in charge of Prairie Hospice came over and interviewed my wife and me, and a couple of days later they came back with a lady. Her name was Anne, and they hit it off so well with my wife and me. It just was so good, and it gave me a chance to get out of the house, you know, a couple times a week. You know, it became such a wonderful relationship with Anne and my wife Wendy, and you know, sure was good for me, and it was just super good for her. She was with Wendy right till she passed away at the end, and so that was really a remarkable experience for me and for my wife to do that, and the care that that person gave to Wendy. And you know, that just made me so, I don't know whatever, I don't know the right word, but to do something back. And I ended up becoming a volunteer for Prairie Hospice also, and now I have a client that I see once a week. He has terminal cancer, and if I can give 1/4 of what Anne gave to my wife, I'd be very happy. So, you know, I can't think of a better organization to help people out, caregivers and people that are terminally ill. You know, it's just a great organization, and the thing is that's so good about it, it's local. And you know, all our, like I play hockey with the 60 plus old timers, and last year, like, we have a 50-50 draws every week, and after about 6-8 weeks, half of it goes to the winner and the other half goes to the charity. And last year I nominated Prairie Hospice, and they I think they raised over $700-800 for Prairie Hospice, and I got their name down again. So we should be coming up for another one pretty soon. So it's just a great organization. It just helps the clients that have terminal illness, and it does wonders for the caregivers too to get out. So I don't know, it's pretty damn good. And thank you very much, Prairie Hospice.
With that, that's my report for 2019. My wish for everyone is to stay healthy and stay safe. Now, the report of the Credit Union Deposit Guarantee Corporation, just to let you know that it's posted on their website. We won't be going through that at our meeting tonight. And next up is the report of the general manager, and this is, remember, for 2019. Dennis, all yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Jan Mark. A tough act to follow, but nevertheless, let's take a look at what happened in 2019. So just bear with me while I set this up. All right, just some housekeeping stuff to start off with. Welcome everyone, and thank you for attending tonight's meeting. For your information, our annual reports, we have printed copies and they're available in branch upon request. There is a limited number and they're going fast, so get yours if you want it printed. The reports are also available on our website, so if you want a digital copy, it's also there. With regards to the financial statements, published with our annual report is the summary financial statements. The full financial statements complete with auditor's notes is available upon request, and you can request that from our office. So moving forward, some of the results that we look at in 2019, and there's 7 typically key performance results that we want to look at. First off, we look at our assets, and there was a change there of 1.57% that it increased. That was turned out to be about $1 million. We look at member deposits, and member deposits also was a change of about 1.25%, and that was also an increase of about $750,000 over the year. We also look at our loans, and there was an increase there, or a change, and that amounted to about $3.2 million. And with that, we ended the year. We also look at a loan to asset ratio, and that was at 84.12%. Typically, we like to stay at the target of 80% or less. We also look at investments, and these unfortunately had declined. However, that is not a bad thing. As you notice, the dollar amount or dollar value in our investments of $3.5 million is almost equal to the value in our loans of $3.2 million. And that is because we fund our investments either through member deposits or investments. And in this case, in last year, with the $0.72 million increase in our deposits, wasn't enough to satisfy the 3.2, so we had to draw down on our investments. And investments typically earn less than our loans in terms of a return. So we look at our profitability also, and that's measured by a return on assets. In 2019, we ended the year with 51 basis points. You'll notice when we talk about this a little bit more, 2018, we had 68 basis points that we finished the year off. And our target is around that 35 to 50 point range. We also look at our capital adequacy. We'll go through this a little bit more later in the slides here, but our total eligible capital for the end of 2019 was 17.32%. And again, we want to see a target between 12 and 15. We also look at liquidity in terms of 2 ratios, and that is the liquidity coverage ratio. We entered the year 2019 at 1,005%. Yes, that is correct, 1,005%, versus a target of 100%. Liquidity coverage ratio measures how many times we can cover if there was a run on cash or a run on deposits out of the credit union. So if there was member withdrawals over a period of 30 days. So this was taken at the end of December. So it would project forward into the end of January of the deposits that are typically or could leave the credit union. That is those that are not non-redeemable. So we were almost 10 times what we were required. We're also looking at our operating liquidity, and this is the day-to-day needs. Target is 100%. To the end of the year of 19, we were at 70%, and that created a challenge for us, and we'll take a little bit closer look at that as to why that was. On our balance sheet, we want to look at the mix there. And so 2019, if from the chart, you'll see that 84% of our assets were in loans. We had another 11% in our investments. So almost 99% of our assets were out, earning some return. On the other side of the balance sheet, we want to look at our liability and equity mix. And on that side, you'll see starting clockwise, starting with blue and checking. If you go clockwise all the way around to the orange, those represent member deposits. And you're looking at about 90% of our liabilities are member deposits. All in all, good shape. So dive deeper into our loan portfolio mix. In 2019, I would consider it a stable and secure portfolio. From this chart, you can see that our consumer mortgages insured were about 13% of our total portfolio, and the uninsured represented about 52%. So all in all, about 66% of our portfolio is consumer mortgages. Excuse me, if we look at the mortgage portfolio a little bit more depth, so we have insured and uninsured mortgages. And insured mortgage is typically one that is insured against the default. There's third-party providers out there, Genworth, and a more popular one is Canada Mortgage and Housing, or CMHC. Our loan portfolio is represented by almost 80% uninsured mortgages, that is a conventional mortgage, wherein a minimum equity or deposit is 20% of the value of the property, versus the insured mortgages, where it can be as low as a 5% down payment. And those are the ones that are underwritten by CMHC or Genworth for default insurance. Carrying on, our profitability, again, measured by a return on assets, ended the year at 51 basis points. And from this chart, you'll see that from 2008, we've taken quite a ride with our net earnings. 2018 on this chart, you can see had taken a spike, and that was because we had a one-time payout from South Central on a dividend to the tune of about $139, which kind of threw our earnings out of the whack. And then obviously this year, our 2019 came down to a more reasonable and normal level for us. Through that whole period, we were able to maintain patronage refund. And as a matter of fact, we've been paying out refunds since 1994. The other term that we look at is our efficiency ratio. In 2019, we ended at 76.98%. That is to say that we would spend $76.98 to earn $100 in revenue. So by this chart, you can see our target being about that 76% mark. In 2018, we were well below that. Again, that dividend that paid out was a great help. And in 2019, we just edged over top of that 76%. That is to say, anything below our target would be a positive result. It sounds kind of backwards, but that is in fact the case. And also, the lower the percentage in terms of efficiency ratio means increased profitability. Increased profitability could lead to increased patronages. We also look at capital management, and that can be very complex in our environment. It includes 6 values. That is, board management oversight is required, sound capital assessment and planning, a comprehensive assessment of the risks, a stress test to see if we've got holding enough capital, and continual monitoring and reporting, and an internal control review. Our regulator expects that with capital management, credit unions would establish capital limits that are supportive of prudent operations, are appropriate for the credit union's risk profile, the risk appetite, and risk tolerance, are aligned with ICAP and the credit union stress testing program, and are stricter than the regulatory minimums. They want to see us look at our operation and the risks that we are facing and determine whether and what type of capital or how much capital to hold. So looking at capital adequacy analysis, capital is the measure of strength for our credit union. And we are very fortunate to be in a very strong capital position based on the type of assets that we hold. Capital is paramount. It's required to provide a cushion in those tough times like this year, to expand product development lines and new services. Our only source, that is the credit union's only source of capital growth, is our earnings, unlike our chartered banks that can float debentures and bonds, etc., to grow their capital. That being said, retained earnings is equal to a capital growth. And what we use to determine an adequate level of capital for our credit union is the ICAP analysis. And through that analysis, from this chart, you can see in 2019, the far right-hand column, deposit guarantees minimum is 10.5%. The board target is between 12 and 15%. Our analysis determined that we should hold approximately 13.44%, and in fact, we ended the year at 17.32%. So sitting well with capital. One other thing that I want to bring to your attention, and this is all detailed in our annual meeting report there, so please have a read of that if you're so inclined. But enterprise risk management that Jan Mark had spoken to earlier is a process to identify the risks facing our credit union. And that is not only the inherent risks, for example, interest rate risks, but additional risks that we face. The purpose of that is to develop mitigation strategies. So in 2019, when I went through the process, we identified 15 risks and 5 opportunities. Those were divided into 8 types of risks. That being strategic, reputational risk, market risk, liquidity risk, credit risk, legal and regulatory risk, operational risk, and informational technology risk. And that being the most important one, I guess, in the last number of years. Risk mitigation strategies are developed only for our high risk categories. So although there are 15 that we have identified with 5 opportunities, we have limited resources and we wanted to focus those resources on our high risks. So we've narrowed that down to 3 risks and 4 opportunities that we focused our resources on and prepared mitigation strategies and plans for. We also regularly report to the board on the status of those risks and the results of any strategies that we implemented. A sincere thank you as General Manager to the Board of Directors for their support, and my deepest gratitude and sincere appreciation to all the staff and management for how they continue to deliver timely and professional service to our members. Thank you again. If you got any questions, please feel free to contact me. There's contact information there is on the screen. Or stop by the office, give us a call with any of the questions that you might have. Thank you, and back to you, Jan Mark.
Hey, thank you very much, Dennis. Greatly appreciated. Okay, got a motion from Shaz, seconded by Bill Davern, that the report of the General Manager for 2019 be received as information. And with that, I'll bring up a new poll. So if I could get you to vote on that. Yeah, I think we've got enough to declare that it be carried. Okay, this is a requirement that regarding your management's responsibility for the preparation of the financial statements. So to the members of the Saskatoon City Employee Credit Union, management has responsibility for preparing the accompanying financial statements and ensuring that all information in the annual report is consistent with the statements. This responsibility includes selecting appropriate accounting principles and making objective judgments in estimates in accordance with international financial reporting standards. In discharging its responsibilities for the integrity and fairness of the financial statements and for the accounting systems for which they are derived, management maintains a necessary system of internal controls designed to provide assurance that transactions are authorized, assets are safeguarded, and proper records are maintained. Ultimate responsibility for financial statements to members lies with the Board of Directors. An Audit and Risk Committee of Directors is appointed by the Board to review financial statements in detail with management and to report to the Board of Directors prior to the approval of the financial statements for publication. Independent auditors appointed by the members audit the financial statements and meet separately with both the Audit and Risk Committee and management to review their findings. The independent auditors report directly to the members and their report follows. The independent auditors have full and free access to the Audit and Risk Committee to discuss their audit and their findings as to the integrity of the credit union's financial reporting and the adequacy of system of internal controls. signed off by the General Manager, Dennis Laziski, and myself as Chair of the Audit and Risk Committee. With that, I'll turn it over to Brian Heinrichs from the Vertis Group, our auditor.
Thanks, Jan Mark. I'll just share my screen so that you can see the financial statements that we'll be going through. I'll just take a moment for them to pop up. So as Jan Mark noted, management and the board through the Audit and Risk Committee are responsible for making sure the financial statements accurately reflect the story of the credit union and the numbers for the year. And we come along as the independent third party as auditors and report on those statements. So what you see up on the screen, or you will momentarily, is our audit report on the summary financial statements. So there's actually two sets of financial statements, appropriately so, that the credit union produces. The first set is a full set of financial statements in accordance with International Financial Reporting Standards, or IFRS. That includes both the management's responsibility page, our full auditor's report indicating a clean audit opinion on the financial statements. That audit opinion is dated February the 27th, which is the date that the board approved the financial statements just before COVID hit in Saskatchewan. And that set of statements also includes multiple notes, about 25 pages or so of notes, which are in accordance with IFRS. So we issue a clean audit opinion on those set of statements. The statements you see before you are what's called the summary financial statements. We issue a separate report on those, and what this report, which you see before you on the screen, basically says is that these summary statements are consistent in numbers with the full set of financial statements. So the numbers are identical. They just don't include all the notes in accordance with IFRS. They do include one note, which I'll show you in a moment. And so this report that we've signed off, same date as the other set of statements, February 27th, again, date of board approval, just indicates that these statements are fully in accordance with the appropriate auditing standard and also consistent with the other set of statements. So Dennis did a very good job of providing a summary of the results. So I'll go through them just at a very high level. Total assets you see went up from 64.2 million to 65.2 million. As Dennis indicated, an increase of about $1 million there. Cash was up. That's a combination of two things. It's your net earnings for the year, in addition to an increase in deposits, which you see down here. The investments, as Dennis noted, went down, almost entirely consistent with the increase in loans receivable. So cashing in those investments allowed you to loan out and get a better return on those funds. The other assets and property and equipment are pretty consistent with what you would have seen last year. There were about, I believe, $60,000 of additions in property equipment, offset by amortization for the year. So on the liability side, there you see the biggest change there is an increase of about 700,000 in deposits coming in. So that's a positive sign. And then the members' equity for the year up from 5.5 to 5.8 million. And that's just an increase due to the net earnings for the year, signed off by two of the board of directors. And then this just shows the continuity. Again, opening retained earnings, the net income for the year of 331, leading to ending retained earnings of 5.8 million. Then on the earnings side, interest revenue was pretty consistent at around 2.4 million. Interest expense up a little bit from 700,000 to 825. Part of that is you did have increased deposits for the year. And then the provision for credit losses here in the middle just actually went down for the year. So that's a positive direction. That shows that you were experiencing less losses during the year. And on the operating expenses side, up from just under 1.5 to just over 1.6 million. The increase is mostly up in general business and then in personnel costs as you continue to grow. So bottom line, 331,000 for the year compared to 438 last year. The cash flow statement just shows where the cash came and went. And you can see here again that the investment, the money inflowing from the cashing in investments was pretty much offset by money going out as you gave out additional loans. And here you also see the increase in the deposits for the year. So this is the note I referred to earlier. It again basically just says that these summary statements are derived from the full set of audited statements that were in accordance with IFRS. We made sure that all of the statements in here, statement of earnings, statement of financial position, and the cash flows were entirely consistent with the other set. And then this statement here at the end is, as Dennis mentioned, you are actually required to have available for any member that asks for it a full set of financial statements with all the notes. Usually not a huge uptick on that, but they are there if you want them. So in conclusion, again, clean audit opinion on the full set of statements and on the other set of statements. And I just want to thank management as well for their full cooperation. We got access to everything we needed, and much appreciated for the cooperation we got. And looking forward to continue to work with you, assuming that we are appointed in a moment. But we very much appreciated the opportunity to work with management and the board through the Audit and Risk Committee. We've always had excellent conversations with them, excellent discussion, and excellent cooperation. So thank you very much. Back to you, Jan.
Okay, thank you very much, Brian. Okay, with that, I need a motion from the floor to accept the auditor's report. Would somebody raise their hand to move it and raise their hand to second it? Moved by Rome. Seconded by Les Smith. And we'll launch the polling for that. Okay, seems like we've got as many as we need. Now, a motion to appoint the firm of Vertus Group to carry out the audit function for 2020. I need that from the floor. Moved by Bill Davern, unless it's Chris that's moving it. Seconded by Marion Voth. And motion should be up on the screen. Okay, looks like we're good. Shows results. And that is carried.
Whew,
Good
Brian,
for another year, Brian. You can breathe again.
Brian, you want to let, after that motion, let
Thank
Brian
you.
know we'll keep the interim audit dates?
Will do. Thank you. And thanks to Jan Mark for his excellent tutelage in how to run a Zoom meeting.
Okay, we have Scott Roche, who's going to present an update on marketing within the credit union.
Perfect. Thank you, Jan Mark. Good evening, everyone. So just wanted to let everybody know that over the last number of months, our credit union has decided to, or went on the path of updating our brand. We haven't probably ever done that in the past, and we wanted to have something that more reflected where we're at now and where we're heading in the future. So part of our process was to enlist the help of a company called The Agency, who works with Central One. And Central One is also the company that basically has created a web site and other things that will come that you'll see with the online banking and the mobile app. But our website, basically the product itself was called Forge. And so again, this was kind of the perfect timing for us to do a rebrand at the same time as the new website was being developed. And if you had a chance today, it was a busy day for us. Our new website got launched today. and it went very well. We've got a nice new look, so if you haven't had a chance to check it out, please do so. So what I'll do is I'll give you a little slideshow of sort of how we came up with the division, or sorry, the decision as to what we went with for our new branding. All right, so again, basically, like I said, we started with the agency. So the first slide you can see here is our old sort of brand, our old logo, our old colors that we used. There was some consistency, but not always, a complete consistency across the board as to what we were using. So again, that was the way it kind of looked in the past. This one is basically showing our photography that we've used in the past as part of the credit union. We try to use pictures, and we'll continue to use pictures that reflect the city and our relationship with the city of Saskatoon. The next slide is the colors. So again, on the left-hand side, you can see there's the city of Saskatoon flag, and you can see the predominant colors are yellow and green. So our original palette had some of that, but not a lot. But when we went with our new color palette, we're definitely incorporating some of the city colors to kind of keep that history reflected as well with our new look and where we're planning on going. So, and there we go. So the new look with our logo has two components to it. The first one you can see at the top is our sort of our long logo, where we've got the two arches with some vibrant colors, and the arches represent, as you can see in the little picture on the right hand side, two of the arches of the bridge here in the city. And so we thought that was really reflective of what we wanted to represent, because we are known as the City of Bridges. And then our other logo that's just below that one is, again, the two arches to keep that consistency, but then also the S underneath to represent sort of the river, but also the S in Saskatoon in the start of our name, so that we can incorporate that into many other of our marketing programs and such. So again, I hope everybody likes the new look and feels that it's again a fresh start for us, and we're very excited to continue forward with that. Also, again, special in a way too, that I just want to recognize Dennis Lazinski. He had 35 years of service in the credit union system as of today. So we definitely have had lots to celebrate today. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Scott. And as you can see, we've now got a new virtual background, thanks to you and Stephanie and the team that you're working with. And of course, Dennis didn't share that little tidbit with us, so congratulations. Okay, well, with that, we'll turn the meeting back to Dennis to give us an update on the year-to-date for 2020.
Let's get set up here. So 2020. That was for Scott and Stephanie and the rest of the team for coming up with this. And that was applause if you didn't recognize that. So just a bit of a background to 2020 and our preparations, in our budget preparations for 2020. We were looking at an environment that was a growing economy, a slower but a positive economy. Weaker business investments, moderate oil prices, soft consumer spending. They were looking at about a 0.25% decrease in interest rates, but relatively stable for the balance of the year. And we were also seeing locally improving housing market. So 2020 started financially status quo. Financial performance was on track with our budget. So from year-end 2019 to the end of Q1, which is March 31st, our assets increased 1.78%. We had an expected loan repayment that resulted in our loans declining by 1.43%. And again, it was expected. So our investments increased, and as a result of that loan repayment, and our revenues were relatively stable. Interest rates declined slightly. Things seem to be unfolding as forecast. And then COVID-19 hit. So today's reality with COVID-19 and some of the stuff that we are doing to prepare for this new reality, preparations were made for the safety of our staff and our member safety. So we had a business continuity plan that we reviewed, and the plan was put into place. We had staff meetings, pandemic planning meetings that were held weekly or daily, even as required. We had put on order sanitizer and masks even prior to the government invoking the Emergency Measures Act. Of course, everything was back ordered. City Hall had locked down to the public on March 19th. They did, however, make provisions for the credit union members to still have access to the service here, as they recognize the credit union as an essential service. Communications were provided to our members regarding options to access their accounts. We were indicating to them that we prefer appointments for over-the-counter service, at least initially. We also then went through the various options they have to access their funds, ATMs, POS transactions with the flash card enabled. I'm not sure, internet banking, some mobile apps. Arrangements were made with the City of Saskatoon to use the night service deposit and some courier drop-offs. We also split the management staff into two teams to avoid any cross-contamination in the branch should there be an infection, and not to shut the entire office down so we could still operate with and for our members. We were on a 1-week rotation, working from home, and all the full-time staff were on full salary. We'd installed acrylic guards for our MSR stations. We had purchased masks, and they are optional for the staff. Sanitizing between each member is being done, and we reduced our over-the-counter service hours from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. What to expect on your next visit to the credit union here? So we ask that you would contact us to schedule an appointment, and this helps us to reduce the wait times and also to maintain social distancing and do the proper sanitizing between each of the members. You're going to enter through City Hall on the east entrance from parking lot at door 1A, and those doors are going to be locked, so you'll have to get the attention of the security guard there. They will request the nature of your visit as they're trying to control the traffic in the building, to which you're going to respond it's credit union business, and they may ask for you to see your member card, which will identify you as a member of the credit union to conduct your business. Security will also request that you sanitize before proceeding and attending to the business, and then thereafter exit the building, as again, they don't want to see anybody loitering around the building. Masks are optional, both for members and for the staff. With your appointment, if you come to the building and there's nobody in the lobby, and please observe the signage that is there, enter the lobby. If there is someone in the credit union lobby, please wait outside the sliding doors and then enter when the lobby is empty, or let the staff call upon you. We ask that you would continue to use the sanitization, and staff will be sanitizing the work areas between serving each of the members for the protection of the members. Staff will also question you on your health status and record that for contact tracing purposes. Again, please use the hand sanitizer, Conduct your business and exit the building by door number 1. The security guards will take care of that. On a financial situation, or the current financial status for us since December 2019, year end, it's been a good news and a bad news story. First off, our prime rate has dropped 1.5% or 150 basis points. One that wasn't budgeted. You see my earlier slides that we budgeted about for about a 0.25% increase or decrease, pardon me. Excuse me. As at the end of August, there were still memberships being open. So we had opened 63 memberships and closed 70 to net out at the current 2,239 members. So there was still activity that way. On the plus side, assets increased 4.93% or $3.2 million. Our loans, yes, they decreased, unfortunately, by 7% or $3.88 million. Our member deposits had gone up by 5% to 3.02%. and our investments. Because our member deposits kept pace, or outpaced, I should say, our member loan growth. That money went into our investment portfolio, and it's up by 68%, or $6.58 million. That then, with the decrease in rates, led to a decrease in our gross revenues, and the gross revenue is just a revenue in our from our interest on loans and investments less the interest that we paid on the member deposits. So that decreased by 4.78%, and our net interest margin then also decreased by about 11%, by 118,000 as compared to last year. Simply the effects of interest rate changes. What were we doing in this time period to assist our members? We had received and approved 53 applications for loan extensions, and that's to the end of Q2, which is the end of June, for a total of $9.2 million. And those extensions ranged from 3 months to up to 6 months worth of deferred payments. Our loan loss provision is at $49,000. This is an increase of about $33,000 from our budget. This is simply and directly related to a business loan. And that is rental property where they were not receiving rent payments. The net result is that our net earnings to the end of August are at 15 basis points, or $70,000. Our target again is between 35 and 50 basis points. 2019 at this time to the end of August, we were sitting at $215,000 again, which was at 51 basis points, right on target. So we're a fair ways off of where we were last year. It's safe, but it's been a struggle to achieve any kind of positive earnings at the current rates and fees. We'll have to be looking at some changes there. But at the end of the day, we have a solid base to work from, and with a few adjustments, we will survive and we will thrive. And Mark, thank you, and that is back to you. That is my update for 2020.
Thank you very much. That is I guess what I would say is, all things considered, a very good status as of the end of August. I think my own personal expectations were far lower than that, and I'm really happy to see that that's working out the way it is.
Thank you. Personally, I'd like to see more earnings, but we'll work on that.
Oh, they will come. I have no doubt. The next is Don Davison, the chair of our nominating committee, to present the new and re-elected board. Don, all over to you.
Thank you, John Mark. Good evening. My name is Don Davison, and I am the chairman of the nominations committee. This year, there were 4 vacant positions on the board. I'm pleased to announce that we have received and accepted 4 qualified nominees to fill the vacant positions. Nominees are Mr. Ramal Legacy and Mr. Les Smith. At this time, I would like to make the motion that the 4 nominees, Mrs. Marion Voth, Mr. Shazazam, Mr. Ramal Legacy, and Mr. Les Smith, be declared elected to the board.
Okay, so we have a motion from Don, and I need to bring up my participants list to get a seconder from the floor by Gail. Can I get your agreement on it? Okay, looks like we got everybody. And that is carried. Thank you, Don.
Thank you, congratulations, and welcome to the successful nominees. At this time, I'd like to acknowledge the outgoing board members. On behalf of the credit union and the board, I would like to extend a sincere thank you to Mr. Jan Mark Gustafson and Mr. Ken Kozak for their dedicated service to the board. Each of these individuals has demonstrated passion and dedication in their oversight roles as directors. Their commitment to our credit union was greatly appreciated. Also, I'd like to extend a special thank you from the board to Mr. Jan Mark Gustafson for his strong leadership, commitment, and many years of service to our board. It was his exceptional leadership skills that have helped guide this board through these current very unique and very difficult times. And with that, I'll return the meeting back to Jan Mark.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Don. Certainly appreciate the support of the boards that I've worked with, and management and the staff have been all great. So I really appreciate that. And thanks, Don. Now, we'll go back to Dennis to give us the recipients of the Boyd Johnson Scholarships for 2020.
Okay, thank you very much, Jan Mark. The Boyd Johnson Memorial Scholarship for 2019-2020. We have 2 scholarships that are being awarded, and they're $1,000 each. And the credit union here has been doing this since 2000. So this is our 19th award to be granted here. We have applicants that are considered on the basis of not only their scholastic achievements, but also on their community involvement. Basically a way of sharing their gifts and talents. This year we have 2 very worthy recipients. In addition to their scholarly achievements, they also found time to give back to the community by volunteering at the senior centers, children's festivals, assisting the elderly, being educational tutors and mentors, and coaching youth sport and Special Olympics bowling. Again, our 2019-2020 scholarship recipients are Jenna Roche and Brendan Johnson. So congratulations to the 2 of you. Unfortunately, Jenna was not able to be with us tonight, and she sends this email, and I'll let you read that. Sad that she couldn't be with us, but is very appreciative of the reward. Mr. Chairman, I believe that Brandon is with us online tonight, and if you would like to share a few words.
Yes, go ahead, Brandon.
There, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. No, I just wanted to say thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to win this scholarship. I really appreciated it. It's going a long way in helping me pay for my education. I've been in my 4th year now, and I've been paying for every single dime of it, and working through school and for scholarships and working to graduate debt-free. And this is going to help me get where I want to be. So thank you so much to everyone on the board and everyone involved at the Saskatoon City Employees Credit Union. I really appreciate it. So thank you so much.
Well, great. Thank you and congratulations. And how is this year going so far?
Not as expected. A little different. Being online is a lot different than what I'm used to, especially being in business. It's online versus if you were doing science or something like that. But we're getting through it, and got to get used to it because I'm assuming this is how it's going to be for a while. So.
Okay. Well, again, congratulations and good luck with it.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Long Service Awards. Back to our General Manager.
Okay, Long Service Awards. We do have one to present, and that is Scott Roche. So 25 years of Saskatchewan Credit Union service. So Scott, thank you very much. Scott joined our credit union November 15th, 2017, and currently serves as our Retail Services and Office Manager. I trust that you can all hear this and see this. A very welcome addition to our team, very strong leadership and interpersonal skills, and a great example for us to follow. So congratulations, Scott. Scott's achievement was planned to be recognized at the Coon Conference here in Saskatoon in April. Unfortunately, the event was canceled due to COVID, and it's being postponed to 2021. Just a bit of a bio there from Scott. I'll let you read through that. He has been busy. He started his career back in 1994 with the battle for his credit, now innovation. Again, I'll let you read through the rest of that. And just in case you've forgotten what Scott looks like, well, there he is.
That's before I grew my beard.
That was back pre-COVID there. So.
That's right. Thank you. Thank you for the kind words.
Jan Mark, back to you. That is our long service word for tonight. And also, I guess I want to mention at this time, seeing as Scott had made that mention, it's actually September 5th was the anniversary date for my years of service. However, I want to recognize then at this time also Gail Gillard. She has also got 35 years. She's got a few months on me. She celebrated in June. We'll pick that up at the next annual general meeting. But she's got 35 years here in City Employees Credit Union. So congratulations, Gail, also.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dennis. Is there any other business that anyone knows of? Please indicate by clicking your raise hand. Dennis or Graham, is there any Q&A questions that seem to be coming up and maybe should be answered verbally in addition to what you've answered text-wise?
We're okay.
Okay, well, thank you very much. So I need a motion from the floor to adjourn the meeting. Moved by Michelle Lane. And seconded by Marty Irwin. Motion to adjourn the meeting. Stan, you agree to adjourn? I keep forgetting you.
I agree.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, no, it was good. Great job there, Jan Mark.
Thanks.
Everybody else, Dennis and the crew.
Great, thanks, Stan.
Thank you, Stan.
Appreciate your support.
We're going to miss you, Jan Mark.
Something like a bad cold, I'm sure. I think we can say that it's carried. And the time is
9:06.
9:06. Oh, I could move that later. And save our minutes. And stop sharing results. Close that.